वंशी विभूषितकरान् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरादरुणबिम्ब फाधरोस्तात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने. ॐ श्रीकृष्णाय नमः. Welcome to the scripture class. On this Friday, it's on Uddhava Gita. And as you remember, in our last class, Sri Krishna gave the examples of people who benefited by satsanga, that holy company, holy association. And he gave a list of the people, all saintly people who were associated with holy company. And finally came to his own company in Vrindavan to the gopis and said, gopis had the company, and they by that company they all got intense devotion to God, to Sri Krishna. So that is what it can bring. Just the holy company can bring the realization, the devotion. That's what Sri Krishna wants to say. As Shankara also said in Bhaja Govindam Stotram, Kshanamapi Sajjana Sangati Reka Bhavati Bhavarnava Tarane Nauka. So even a slightest moment of of association with holy becomes the boat to cross this ocean of samsara. So that's what the company and the power and glory of this holy company Sri Krishna is telling to Uddhava, who wants, how shall he live without him in this world after Sri Krishna uh, concludes his Naralila and goes to heavenly abode. How would he live here? So Sri Krishna says, have devotion to me, live with the knowledge of God, have realized God realization, remain here as Sthita Pragya. And for that, this holy company is one method, and this is so much spiritual generating power, this holy company, just by association with the people who have realized God, who are really true devotees of God. You absorb that thing. So after saying about gopis, he says this one is beautiful. Verse 13 in chapter 6 that we are studying. Chapter 7, sorry. Chapter 7 in Swami Madhavanandaji Uddhava Gita, is page 103. Chapter 7, verse 13. Matkama Ramanam Jaramaswarupam Swarupa Vido Avalaha Brahmamam Paramam Prapu Sangat Satta Sahasrasha. Just by Matkama, they were desirous of me, and they loved me really as sweetheart without knowing my nature. So, Mam Matta Swarupa Avido Abalaha. Abala means all gopis. So they just didn't know my true nature, that I am supreme divine. But because they loved me and they had the holy company of myself, even without any knowledge, any rationality, any other spiritual practice, they went to that state, not knowing my real nature, says Sri Krishna. The gopis, who were ignorant women, so Abala, desired me as their beloved sweetheart. So they loved Sri Krishna as their sweetheart. Yet they attained me. They didn't know that Sri Krishna is God Himself. Just that pure love was there, love that transcended their own self interest, that something getting in return, just the pure love to give to Sri Krishna, just to seek his holy company, nothing else, nothing from Sri Krishna they wanted. Just they wanted the company of Sri Krishna. That tremendous love for a holy person. By that alone, what happened? Yet they attained me. They realized God. They attained God. In attained me. Who is that me? The Supreme Brahman. By hundreds and thousands through the power of holy association. So hundreds and thousands of them just they loved Sri Krishna, and they all attained Sri Krishna just by the power of holy association. So holy association is so powerful, says Sri Krishna. Even if you don't know about the holy person, just by association, you you go across the ocean of samsara. As for example, Ratnakara. He didn't know Narada as a great saint or something. Just had the company of Narada and how his life was totally transformed from a robber, highway robber, to a saint Valmiki, just by the company of holy. That's what it is said. So beautiful example Sri Krishna gives here, that even they didn't know my true nature, but hey, they attained me, the supreme Brahman. They attained the Brahman. They attained Sri Krishna means they attained Brahman without even desiring to have Brahma Jnana, even without any idea of what reality is, without any idea of Advaita Tattva Jnana. They attain that Advaita both. So when they attain Sri Krishna in their true form, that he becomes the Brahma Swarupa, Brahma Jnana. So that's what Sri Krishna says to Uddhava. That is most potent form of spiritual practice, this association of the holy. So that is very important. He said. Let's go to next verse. Tasmat tvam uddhavotsrijya chodanam pratichodanam pravrittancha nibrittancha shrotavyam श्रुतमेव च मामेकमेव शरणम आत्मानं सर्वदेहिनां याहि सर्वात्म भावेन मया स्याह्य कुतो भयः. He says to Uddhava, just me sarvatma bhavena saranam atmanam mameka meva saranam atmanam. So that is the thing. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam saranam braja. Here it says mameka meva saranam atmanam. Yourself, your mind, just make it surrender to me. Sarva bhavena. Who is that? He says here. Mam Ekam, the one that I reside in Sarva Dehinam. I reside in all beings as their soul. To them, you just surrender yourself. Therefore, O Uddhava, giving up injunctions and prohibitions. The Shastra's injunctions and prohibitions, there and the Shastra that you should do this, you should not do that, Yama and Niyama, those things that we followed for real good life of a good citizen, life of a good spiritual aspirant. But at a stage, it goes that just observing those are not the main focus. That you observe in your life, that is fine, but you later on it becomes a part of your, and you don't focus on whether I am doing ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, parigraha, not that to relinquish that. It will be automatically done, but you don't have to focus that I am doing ahimsa or not, I am doing satya or not. Even Sri Ramakrishna says in the gospel, I had so much of this strong attachment to truthfulness, that whatever I had said, I would have to do that. But now this intention of holding on to truth in that way has become less. So, Belton, it's not like that. Earlier it was that way. So it becomes a part of life after you do for some time. So then after that you don't focus on those things that I have to be truthful. It becomes a part. Ahimsa, Satya, Steya, Brahmacharya, Parigraha, or Saucha, Santosa, Tapaswadhyaya, Iswara, Pranidhana. All these are Yama and Niyama. So like that you practice, it becomes a part. But after that, Uddhava giving up injunctions and prohibitions. You should do this, you should not do that. That also don't focus on that. It has become a part. So utsrijya tasmatvam uddhava utsrijya. Utsrijya means giving up. What? Chodanam pratichodanam. What is injunctions and pratichodanam prohibitions. Don't focus on that. And pravrittancha nibrittancha. Those two types of path. Path of pravritti means path of enjoyment, and nibritti means path of renunciation. So you don't have to care for that way, whether I am following the path of enjoyment, path of worldly progress, worldly success, or I am really doing the sadhana or giving up the things. Nibritti is renunciation, path of renunciation. You surrender, give up that also. What you are following, you don't. It doesn't matter anymore. And also, Shrotabhyan Shrutamevacha. What is Shrotabhya? Shrotabhya means what I have to listen, what I have to know. And Shrutam Eva, what I have already heard. Shrutam means already heard. The Shastras, the knowledge. I have read so much of the Shastras, so many Upanishads, so many Vedanta, Bhagavata, and yet I have to read this Upanishad I have not read, Brahma Sutra I have not read. Give up that also, what you have read and what you have to read. Shrotabhya, what you have to read, and Shrutam, what you have already heard. So that also that what Utsrijya, give up that also. Learn, do thou, then what to do? Do thou yahi sarvatma bhavena mayasya saranam atmanam. Wholeheartedly take refuge in me alone. Mam ekam eva. Mam ekam means to me. Eva means alone. To me alone. You saranam. Take refuge in me wholeheartedly. Sarva bhavena. Sarvatma bhavena. So wholeheartedly you take refuge in me. That I am there for you. Just think of me, and you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to notice what you are following, what you are doing, nothing that. I should be one goal of your life. Only it is all God and nothing else is the goal of life, from morning till evening. And from evening in the dream and in the deep sleep, and waking up again, it is all God. So you just surrender to me means how to surrender? Be keep myself in your thought. I should be there with you. That is the dedication to Sri Krishna or to God. You totally dedicate yourself to Sri Krishna. Nothing else remains in your life. Nothing else becomes important in your life. It is only Sri Krishna. Only Sri Ramakrishna becomes the goal of our life, goal of our thought, and he becomes only we think of him and nothing else. And then what will happen? Who am I? He says, Sri Krishna says, Maya sarvatma bhavena maya sya kuto and he says Atmanam sarvadehinam. I am the Atma, I am me alone, the self of all beings. So little of knowledge that all people's self, actual real person is God alone. External feature, the body, and inside that the mind and buddhi, which makes people different, one different from other, are just external things. They are not the real person. Real person is God alone, the soul alone, that soul who is God. To seeing that God in all beings, think of God, myself, and also try to see me in all beings. When you see any other person, any other being, just you realize that it is Sri Krishna that is as the soul making its mind and intellect and body work and mind think. All is because of the presence of Sri Krishna. The pure light of that consciousness is all lit there. All that pure light is there in all beings of different kinds, good and bad, doesn't matter. Just try to see me. And when you see God in all, then what happens? God is our true friend. God is our bandhu, that he says, bandhuratma atmanastasya, and also I am the friend, gatir varta prabhu shakshi nivasa saranam surit. I'm the surit, I'm the true friend of everyone. So that God, friend, our own person, our own being, that you see in all being residing, then then he says, Akuto bhaya, without any fear, then you dwell in this world. When you see that beloved Lord in all, what do you fear? You don't fear at all. All fear is gone. So the self of all beings, and be fearless through me. When we see Sri Krishna or Sri Ramakrishna, everyone, our beloved, then where is the fear? When you start seeing Sri Ramakrishna in other persons or other beings and in yourself, the external things just is negated. The body, the thing goes away, and even the tiger comes, you see Sri Ramakrishna sitting there, and you have no fear, like Swami Vivekananda. He saw a tiger on the way in the jungle and sat down and thinking that tiger will come and jump and eat it up. His body at least will make his hunger appeased by the body of Swami Vivekananda, Narendranath. But that tiger never pounced him, never attacked him. But he was ready without any fear. All fear had gone because he could see that consciousness, that blissful consciousness, witness consciousness present in him is also present in the tiger. So that was Swami Vivekananda's feeling. That what Sri Krishna wants Uddhava to realize, to think, to live in that idea. That Swami Vivekananda was always dwelling in that idea. So that one is Uddhava, Sri Krishna saying to Uddhava. So think of me dwelling in all and in you, and then move in this world without any fear. So fear comes when we see ourselves as vulnerable, as this body as the truth. This body will be damaged, destroyed, hurt by others. Then you feel fear. When you know this body is not your real self, your real self is the Atman, which cannot be hurt by anyone. So fear is all gone. So he akuto bhaya, live in this world. So Sri Krishna this advice. Now Uddhava should feel very happy that Sri Krishna has given his advice, and now I can live like that. But by saying, even by God, it doesn't happen. You see, Uddhava what he says. संशय शृण्वतो वाचम तव योगेश्वरेश्वर न निवर्तते आत्मस्थो येन भ्राम्यति मे मनः. So Uddhava said to this reply to Sri Krishna's advice of seeing him in dwelling in the heart of all, giving up all the fear, and who is the friend of all. To that Sri Krishna seeing as an indweller of every being. So Uddhava said the practical thing. Uddhava said, O Lord of the masters of yoga, Yogeshwareshwara. Yogeshwara means master of Lord. There is Swara. Those who are master of yoga, their Lord. That is Sri Krishna. So, O Lord of the masters of yoga. That is how he described. He described Sri Krishna. Yogeshwareshwara, hey Yogeshwareshwara. Though I am listening to thy words, wonderful words coming directly from God, and such a pure devotee, you see, still the doubt that are in my mind are not dispelled. So still I have doubt. So you see, Sri Krishna had to teach to Arjuna in 700 verses what the truth is. After that, Sri Krishna, Sri Arjuna told, yes, and now I understand, I will do whatever you say. Before that, he showed him Vishwarupa Darshana, what the reality is, how he's fighting, all the things, all people there are dead. Still, Arjuna was in doubt after having all the visions. Doubt is such a thing, it doesn't go. So Uddhava clearly said, though Lord, you have told me so clearly, yet my doubts are not dispelled, and hence my mind is wandering. I cannot, you told me so beautifully, but still my doubts are not dispelled. Can you still clear to me? He wants to make the things clear. So he still wants to hear Sri Krishna explaining the path of spirituality, path of spiritual practice. It's so wonderful to talk with such a teacher. That's what the conversation also there. Their words, Sri Krishna's words like Kathamrita, like the Amrita Katha, like the words of nectar. So he wants to hear more about that and says, my mind is still wandering. I have tried to understand what you say, but still there remains doubt that when you say you are dwelling in all and all are that Atma, but still doubt remains because I feel myself as the body and others also as the body-mind complex. So still that fear is not gone. So can you still tell me how my all doubts will be gone, removed, and mm, I could realize what you have just said. That's what she said. Now Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Bhagavan now will say more about the more about the philosophy, more about God, how God manifests in this world, where God is seated as the subtlest form, and how this everything is the manifestation of God. So that thing, if we could understand that all this universe, this is changing universe, called as anatma, In fact, is the Atma manifested. Atma appearing is this. There is nothing anatma. This all Atma appearing as anatma. So Sri Krishna tries to express that so that yatra yatra netra pade tatra tatra Krishna is pure. That is the goal. Wherever our eyes fall, wherever whatever we see that as Krishna, manifestation of Krishna. If we don't see the Krishna with the flute bearing and peacock holding, but that much intellect becomes so purified that that being is manifesting as the whole this universe that we see, mountains and rivers and the plants and animals and human beings, all are different forms that Krishna has taken. Now Krishna goes subtle and tries to explain him what is reality, how God manifests here. So Sri Bhagavan Vacha, स एव जीवो विवर प्रसूति प्राणेन घोषेण गुहां प्रविष्ट मनोमयं सूक्ष्ममुपेत्य रूपं मात्रा स्वरो वर्ण इति सविष्ट. He says, you know, Krishna, Uddhava, where I told, where God dwells in very subtle form in every being in its in the cave of Muladhara, in the base of the spine. That is the source of all spiritual power lies there. And there all our thoughts, all our speech are with the Lord. What we speak, though it is not God, but it's all manifest from that unmanifested form of the divine. Let me read this. This Paramatman, which manifests itself in the centers of the spinal column. So it manifests itself in the centers of the spinal column. What are the centers of the spinal column? Sri Krishna here tries to explain Uddhava with the Kundalini. There are in the spinal column, there is subtle column is there called Sushumna. Sushumna is the fine nerve that passes through the spinal cord, and that is visible to the yogis. And that Sushumna, in the Sushumna, there are centers. There are 6 centers, and seventh one is in the head, called Sahasrara. So these 6 centers, also called lotuses, are the manifestation of that Lord. But that Lord remains in the very base lotus in the Sushumna. The base lotus is called is at the very much called Muladhara. In Muladhara, the very first at the base of the spinal column or the Sushumna vertebra, there the Lord remains there in the cave, hidden, unperceptible. So there it remains, and all the chakras are its manifestation. Muladhara center with the prana coupled with the subtlest form of sound. There God remains. How it remains? With the prana, with the vital energy that also belongs to God, and also with the sound, subtlest form of the sound, this sound that our thoughts manifest into speech, that is at the base of the spinal column, at the base of the Sushumna, remaining there with the Lord and with the prana or the energy, and that manifests as the sound that we speak. There are various manifestations of the sound. Sound in that level in Muladhara is called it is called very subtle form of the sound. It is called para. Para is the sound that is God. Para is nada. So that is God, Pranava himself. That is not heard. That is cannot be fathomed. That is beyond our perception. So we cannot perceive the sound there. But the sound in subtlest form is there at the base of our spinal column, where Lord dwells with prana, and that sound is there. That para is there. Para, of course, means supreme. The supreme is there, and the supreme in the form of sound or thought is there. Now, this para, prana coupled with the subtlest form of sound and passing through the less subtle forms perceptible to the mind only is ultimately manifest in the gross form as syllable, pitch, and later sound. Now, how this mechanism of sound, para, the thought, the words, the sound is there at the base. Now, the sound gradually, very subtlest form in the form of para. That para travels to the Sushumna, and in the when it travels to Sushumna, when it comes at the level of from Sushumna comes from Muladhara comes Swadhisthana and then Manipura. Manipura at the navel level. When that para comes to the navel level, it becomes gross enough. We call Pashyanti. Pashyanti is the thing where only yogis can perceive the thought at that very basic level. Ordinary people cannot perceive there. So Pashyanti is that state, the sound mm, at the Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura and Swadhisthana level. That Muladhara, Swadhisthana and Manipura level. So this at the level of Manipura, it is manifest in the form of Pashyanti. And then from there it goes up, and still many people cannot hold it. And then comes when it goes up, then it is called Madhyama. In Madhyama, that is in the heart level, that our ideas, before we speak, we think that ideas, Madhyama, many can, Parapasyanti Madhyama. That heart level, in Madhyama level, then we can perceive of thought that I'm thinking this. And that very para that was there down in the Muladhara and manifest as Pasyanti in the navel level, that very thing then comes up, and then it is we can perceive our thought in Madhyama level. So the thought at Madhyama level is manifest there. And Para, Supreme, also called Nada, the intermediate, slightly more developed form of sound are Pashyanti and Madhyama, which have respective seats in Manipura and Anahata. So Pashyanti is Manipura at the navel level of the Sushumna when the sound comes there, and then Madhyama at the heart level, Anahata. There, then we can understand thought is there. So after that, the thought becomes grossest when it comes to Vishuddha level. Vishuddha means throat level. This Sushumna goes through all this back, and at level of throat in the Sushumna, when that sound comes, it's called Vaikhari. Vaikhari is the sound that I'm producing, is the Vaikhari. But it all comes to Para. Para manifests as a grosser, little less subtle, and that is called Pashyanti. Only yogis can see Pashyanti. Para can never, nobody see. That is the supreme being, very subtle, subtlest form. And then yogis can see the Pashyanti level thoughts. And then comes the thought level that we understand. I'm thinking that we understand. What I was speaking that I understand. So that is at the level of Madhyama, perceptible to the human being. And Madhyama, then it comes through the throat. At the throat level, it becomes Vaikhari. So that is how subtlest is the thought. At the thought level, at the para level, it is one with God, para. So Parama, supreme being. And from there, by the power of prana, it comes up and becomes grosser and grosser. And at Vaikhari level, then is the sound produced. So Sri Krishna has said, you see how this subtle to gross, it's the same being that manifested, and all are the manifestation of that subtlest being, that para being manifest as Vaikhari. Similarly, this whole universe is the manifestation of that subtle Brahman. Subtle Brahman manifests as this universe. Swami Vivekananda at one place says, this whole from Brahman to this manifested Prakriti is one being, one truth, a different appearance. It is very subtlest and imperceptible at the Brahman level. Gradually, it becomes grosser and grosser, like the thread, and then nice, very fibers. Then fiber combined becomes thread, and thread combined become like rope. Like that is the thing. And the fiber is still fiber, you can perceive with our eyes, but subtler than the fiber, like the molecular level. Molecule you can think of in through the microscope or molecular level, how this all fibers then go to the molecular level. But this para is cannot be perceived by any mind. So in that subtle form is that para is there, and the para becomes grosser in the molecular form, and then the fibrous form, then the rope form. Rope is the bakery, you can everybody can touch and feel, and this fiber form the yogis can see, and this molecular form is very difficult to see. Maybe some yogis, those who have gone very subtle, they can understand the molecular nature of the fiber, how the cellulose molecules they are arranged to make the fiber. So that way, from subtle to grosser, that's all the manifestation of the universe. Sri Krishna wants Uddhava to take his mind to the very subtle level. Mm. How the God resides in this universe. Make your mind subtle, and you can perceive God behind all this manifestation. That's what he says. Let me read the translation. Coupled with the subtlest form of sound, that is para, and passing through less subtle forms perceptible to mind only, that is the madhyama level, is ultimately manifest in the grossest form, that's the baikari level in the throat, as syllable, pitch, and letter sound. How this sound manifests, it gives the details of the sound system. How this study of the sound in our Vedanta, you see. In the syllable means matra. It's called matra. It's a matra, swara, varna, iti stavista. Matra is the long or short sound, matra. And swara is pitch, whether low pitch or high pitch. Udatta, anudatta, like that, this pitch. The sound becomes like the different pitches, and the sound is spelled, the word, the syllable is spelled long or short, that is matra. Then swara is the pitch of the syllable, and the varna is syllable itself, letter sound. Syllable is that. Syllable is matra. Swara is pitch, and varna is letter sound. What is the letter sound? Letter sound, all the letters that there are, like we have the letter that Vyanjana Varna and Swara Varna, all are letters. Like E, they are all letters. Ka, Kha, Ga, those are all different letters. This letter sound have swaras, or swara is, either you say ka, like that you can have different swara, different pitch. And you can say ka, short matra, ka, long matra. So all this different variation of the sound comes. All the source is all that para seated at the base of the spine. The source of para is there, says Sri Krishna. Beautifully, he brings yoga, especially Kundalini yoga here, and explains to Uddhava about different levels of subtleness or grossness of the sound system, how that sound comes. So, after saying about the sounds, giving the example of subtle and gross form of the sound, subtle form of the sound is thought. Subtle from the thought is still coming, that rising thought which people cannot perceive, but yogis can perceive. That is pashanti. Madhyama is thought level. Pashanti is only for the yogis, they can understand this thought is coming. Then the ultimate level of sound, that is called para, nobody can perceive that. So para, pashanti, madhyama, vaikhari. So para is at the level of muladhara, pashanti at the level of manipura, and and madhyama at the level of heart, anahata, and vaikhari at the level of throat. So from throat, the sound starts. Sound actually it's created. Vocal cord, you know that how we biological science also says vocal cord. And then when sound is produced, then lips and tongue and all that manipulate it to make a different pitch, different letter sound, and different length of the sound. And that's how all music happens, all language happens, all oratory happens, all through the by the combined action of nose and the mouth and the tongue and the lips, where the lip moves from where the when the sound is thrown from the vocal cord, but that sound is now modified by the tongue, by remaining at some place, and some sound that goes through the nose, it's called nasal sound, guttural sound, palatable sound, like that. All the different types of sounds are created by the tongue with the association, all this buccal things. This makes the vocal sound, beautiful music, beautiful songs, and wonderful oratory. All that comes is modified by that sound that is created, that is manifested, not created here, manifested in the vocal cord. But the source of before that source of that sound is the heart, where the thought are manifested, and there you can manifest whether to speak that or not to speak that. You can control with the that thought can be controlled. But even sometimes when the thought is already there, it just comes out. When you're angry, you are not able to control. After just it comes out, then we say, oh, we should not have told that. But what good thoughts or bad thoughts comes, we cannot control. But at the yogis can control at the Pashyanti level. When it is at the navel level, then there they can control the sound at the Muladhara level itself. Yogis can control the thoughts. You see that how subtle. So they will never do any say anything that is hurtful or non-beneficial or should not be said. They will never do. Ordinary human beings, sometimes in anger, sometimes with emotion, they just say the thing that should not have been said. So that much control the yogis get. And they catch at the very basic level, nip in the bud, as they say. If any subtle that thought comes, they can nip at the bud. But we ordinary people have no power to nip at the bud. Bud is already there, and it starts blooming the flower. Then you say, oh, it is very poisonous flower. Then it's already become late, and it sometimes manifests at the flower itself, spreading the poison all around. So that's what is the make your mind subtle, and you can control your thought. That's how Sri Krishna is saying that. Let's go to next verse, and that will be the last verse. Oh, that's already time. Let us go. यथा नल खे नीलबंधु रूपमा बलेन दारुण्य धीमत्यमान अनुप्रजातो हविषा समिध्यते तथैव मे व्यक्तिरियम हि वाणी. So again he brings this sound thing with the fire example, how this subtle thing becomes manifested, how this Brahman so subtle manifests at this world that we can perceive with gross senses, with our touch and smell and sight, vision, we can perceive this gross universe. But at the background of this universe, at the source of universe, is the subtle Paramatma, subtle that Para Shakti is there. So that's what Sri Krishna is trying to say to Uddhava. What you see is very gross form. In very subtle form, it is all God. In gross form, there might be bad and good. In subtle form, all is neither good nor bad. All just is. And he gives the example. As fire exists, verse 18, as fire exists in the pores of wood as latent heat. The fire is there already in the wood, but that is the para. Nobody can see the fire in the wood unless it is manifested. It comes out from the wood. So there is fire in everything. That is the power of combustion. The fire, as it fire is hiding latent in the wood, that is so subtle, unseen. But there is fire. The source of fire from the wood is the fire that was already in the wood. And that's it. Which through vigorous friction aided by wind manifests itself in the wood first as a spark. Now this when these two woods are rubbed, then spark comes when it's vigorously rubbed. Certain woods that can catch fire easily, and they're called aruni wood. And then that fire comes in the form of spark, and that spark is meant to catch some cotton like thing. It catches cotton, and then it wind blowing by the people then blow through the mouth, air is blown, and then it catches more, spreads the fire in that cotton. Then small ghee is poured there, the little fire, and the firewood, a small piece of firewood is there given, very thin piece, so that the spark can heat that piece, and the fire that is within that piece of wood, then it blazes forth, and little fire is produced in that thing, from spark to a perceptible fire, and then as tangible fire that happens, and is finally set ablaze by ghee. Similarly, the speech, my manifestation. So how beautifully he gives. If you have seen how fire is produced by wood, you would understand that how they produce fire. The in wood is that one wood is rubbed with again. It's nothing. It's coal, but then we rub, then it heats up. After rubbing, then you start spark coming out. It's not the flint or anything, just the wood, two pieces of wood, and then spark comes out, and there they keep surrounded by some very igniting cotton, and that cotton catches that, and then the cotton catches the spark, and the little that happens, then they start blowing the wind. When they blow with the mouth something, and that fire and then spreads on that cotton, and then bring the small piece of wood, then it is a flame, tiny manifestation of the fire. Then they pour little ghee in that, then the fire starts blazing, then they put the bigger the samit, or they call firewood of samit, or fagot, they put there, and the fire is ablaze. But that's what Sri Krishna says, as blazing fire, at the source of blazing fire is unmanifested fire, hidden latent in the wood. So behind all speech that you hear is speech. Similarly, in speech, my manifestation. I am already there. All speeches are my manifestation. All words, syllables, language, oratory, everything at the, if you resolve back to that para level, that Ishvara level. That's what Sri Krishna tries to make Uddhava understand, the subtle form of this manifested gross universe. At the source of this gross universe is God Himself, Brahman itself. Mm, that's what it is said. Anandam Brahmeti Vejanat. Then it was, they say that in the beginning it was Ananda. Anandena imani bhutani jayanti. This Ananda is Brahman. All this bhutani, all this created universe has come forth from Ananda, from that Brahman. Anandena imani bhutani jayanti, Anandena jatani jivanti. Now they live in Ananda, they live in that Brahman itself, that manifested Brahman. And Anandam prayanti abhisham vishanti. When all this destruction, we say destruction, death, decay, all that happens, what is that? That pravisham vishanti, emerge again in that Ananda, in that Brahman, which is not manifest, which is imperceptible, but that is the cycle of creation and destruction is just becoming the cycle of subtle becoming gross and gross becoming subtle. Nothing else than that, says Sri Krishna. Wonderful Uddhava Gita. In further, we'll take in our next Uddhava Gita class. Thank you very much and good night. We close with the closing chant. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishnaarpanamastu. Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmu.